Even before a single word is uttered, your social fate is already sealed. Before you articulate your first argument, present your credentials, or declare your intentions, a silent sentence has already been pronounced on your worth, your authority, and your right to respect. This sentence is based not on what you say, but on what your body reveals, in ancient, instinctive, and relentlessly honest language that transcends cultures, times, and contexts. The truth that few men understand is this: body language is not a complement to verbal communication. It is the foundation upon which all human interaction is built. Studies show that up to 93% of the impact of communication comes from nonverbal elements: your posture, your gestures, your gaze, the space you occupy, the energy you project. While most men obsessively refine what they say, the truly powerful master what they silently communicate. Think of the men who naturally command respect when they walk into a room. It's not what they say that immediately establishes their position in the social hierarchy. It's how they move, how they occupy space, how they direct their gaze, how they modulate their presence. They speak a primal language of power that resonates directly with the oldest circuits of the human brain, circuits that evolved long before verbal language and that continue to govern our instinctive responses to other human beings. Today, we're going to dissect this silent language of power. We're going to explore the fundamental principles that determine whether you're perceived as someone who deserves respect, attention, and deference, or as someone who can be ignored, interrupted, or disregarded. We're not talking about manipulative techniques or artificial performances, but principles deeply rooted in human psychology that, once understood and incorporated, fundamentally transform how the world responds to your presence. To truly understand the power of body language, we must first understand how our brains process nonverbal signals of dominance and submission. This isn't a matter of opinion or cultural preference. It's a matter of neurobiology, of how our brains have been programmed through millions of years of evolution to instantly categorize other humans in terms of social hierarchy. When you meet someone for the first time, your brain performs a lightning-fast and largely unconscious assessment. In less than 200 milliseconds, literally in the blink of an eye, your limbic system, the ancient, instinctive part of your brain, has already formed judgments on two critical dimensions. Does the person pose a threat or a safety net? And does the person have high or low status? This instant assessment isn't based on resumes, titles, or verbal statements. It's based on primitive body signals that communicate essential information about confidence, competence, and power. Your brain is constantly scanning for specific cues. Does the person take up space or squirm? Are their movements deliberate or nervous? Is their gaze steady or evasive? Is their posture expansive or defensive? What makes this reality particularly unforgiving is that it operates largely below the level of conscious awareness. People don't rationally decide whether to respect or disrespect you. They respond instinctively to the signals your body sends. And once that initial impression is formed, the powerful confirmation bias kicks in. The tendency to notice and value information that confirms initial impressions and ignore or discount information that contradicts them. Before we explore the specific signals that command respect, we need to identify and eliminate the low-status body signals that unconsciously undermine your authority. These are patterns that many men display without realizing it, silently sabotaging their social standing before they even open their mouths. The first sign of low status is a hunched posture. When you shrug your shoulders, hunch your spine, tilt your head down, or cross your arms defensively over your chest, you are literally making yourself smaller, taking up less physical space. Evolutionarily, this is a clear sign of submission, communicating, "I am not a threat. I am not claiming territory or resources. I am submitting to your dominance." Notice how low-status men move in social spaces. They often shrink back, as if apologizing for their very existence. They lean against walls, squeeze into corners, instantly give way when others approach. Each of these micro-behaviors communicates a clear message to the observer's social brain. This man doesn't see himself as valuable or powerful, so there's no reason for others to see him any differently. The second sign of low status is nervous, purposeless movement. Constant fidgeting, fingers tapping, feet jiggling, frequent adjustments to clothing or hair, repetitive facial touching. These movements communicate anxiety, discomfort, and a lack of self-control. Evolutionarily, they signal that you are in a heightened state of alert, potentially ready to flee, the antithesis of the confident calm that characterizes true power. Notice how high-status men move, with economy and purpose. Their movements are deliberate, not reactive or nervous. They remain comfortably still when there is no reason to move, demonstrating control not only over their environment but over themselves. This quality of movement, or lack thereof, communicates a powerful message. I am completely comfortable in my own skin. I do not need constant movement to release nervous tension. The third sign of low status is the evasive or overly submissive gaze. When you consistently look away, especially in moments of tension or challenge, you communicate insecurity and submissiveness. When you hold eye contact for too long, or when your gaze is hesitant and uncertain, you signal deference, a willingness to yield to the other person's dominance. Notice how low-status men manage eye contact. They often look down when confronted, quickly look away after brief connections, or nervously alternate between contact and avoidance. Each of these patterns communicates a clear message. I don't feel comfortable claiming equality or dominance in this interaction. The fourth sign of low status is an unsteady, apologetic voice. Although technically part of verbal communication, the nonverbal qualities of your voice, tone, volume, pace, firmness, communicate crucial information about status. When your voice rises at the ends of sentences, turning statements into implicit questions, when you speak too softly to be heard clearly, when your pace is hurried and anxious, you are signaling doubt about your right to be heard. Notice how low-status men speak. They often rush, as if they fear their speaking time is limited. They apologize before expressing opinions. They seek constant validation through "right? Do you agree? Does that make sense?" Each of these patterns communicates insecurity and a need for approval, qualities fundamentally incompatible with genuine respect. To command respect, you must first systematically eliminate these low-status signals. This isn't about performing confidence you don't have. It's about removing the behaviors that actively contradict the confidence you're developing. It's about stopping sabotaging your own authority through body signals that scream, "Don't respect me," to others' social brains. Now, let's explore the fundamental principles of posture that naturally commands respect. Posture isn't just a matter of appearance. It's a direct physical expression of your mental and emotional state. When you change your posture, you literally change your biochemistry, your hormone levels, neurological patterns, and psychological state. The first principle is vertical alignment. Imagine a straight line connecting the crown of your head, through your spine, to the center of the earth. This line represents your axis of power, your simultaneous connection to the sky above and the ground below. When you maintain this alignment, with your spine erect but not rigid, your shoulders naturally open, and your head balanced over your spine, not jutting forward, you communicate a clear message of inherent dignity. The second principle is controlled expansion. Unlike the contracted posture that signals submission, the power posture occupies appropriate space, not aggressively or invasively, but with a presence that naturally expands to fill the available space. Shoulders are relaxed and open, not hunched or tense. Chest is slightly expanded, not artificially inflated. Arms are comfortably away from the body, not pressed defensively against the sides. The third principle is rootedness. Notice how men of true power stand. They appear immovable, as if they have deep roots in the ground. This quality comes from a solid foundation. Feet firmly planted about shoulder-width apart, weight evenly distributed, center of gravity low and stable. When you are truly rooted, you communicate a powerful message. I will not be easily moved, physically or metaphorically. The fourth principle is relaxed symmetry. The power posture is generally symmetrical, not contorted, slouched, or unbalanced. This symmetry communicates internal and external balance. However, the key is that this symmetry must be relaxed, not rigid or military. Excessive rigidity communicates tension and effort. True power feels effortless, natural, as if it were your default state rather than a performance. Practice these principles daily until they become your default posture. Not something you switch on in important situations, but your natural way of inhabiting your body. Start with short sessions of mindful practice, gradually extending the time until this power posture becomes second nature. If you're noticing how these posture principles are already revealing patterns in your own body language, consider sharing this knowledge with other men on their journey. True transformation happens when we elevate those around us. By creating a community of men who are aware of these principles, you not only strengthen your own presence, but you contribute to a collective upliftment. Now, let's explore the transformative power of the gaze that commands respect. Eye contact is arguably the most powerful element of dominant body language. Studies show that leaders maintain significantly more eye contact than subordinates, both when speaking and when listening. This is no coincidence. Eye contact is a primary tool for establishing and maintaining social hierarchy in virtually all primate species, including humans. The fundamental principle of dominant gaze is comfortable stability. Unlike the evasive gaze that signals submission or the aggressive stare that signals threat, the gaze that commands respect is stable, steady, and comfortable. You maintain eye contact for longer than average periods of time, without tension or aggression, communicating a clear message. I am completely comfortable in this connection. I do not need to look away out of insecurity or fixate out of compensatory insecurity. The second principle is intentional initiation and break. High-status men often initiate eye contact rather than waiting for others to do so. Most importantly, they break eye contact deliberately and calmly, not as a nervous or submissive reaction. This quality of control, consciously deciding when to connect and disconnect, communicates authority over the interaction. The third principle is contextual calibration. Dominant gaze is not a fixed pattern applied indiscriminately. It is dynamically adapted to the context and the person. With subordinates, it can be briefer and more direct. With peers, it can be more sustained and connecting. With authority figures, it can be respectful but not submissive. This ability to finely calibrate one's gaze demonstrates social intelligence and mastery of hierarchical nuances. The fourth principle is the quality of your gaze. It's not just how long you hold eye contact, but the quality of that contact. The gaze that commands respect is focused and present. You're really seeing the person, not just pointing your eyes in their direction while your mind wanders. It's calm and centered, not anxious or agitated. It's confident without being intimidating, attentive without being intrusive. Practice these principles in everyday interactions. Start with low-stakes situations, casual interactions with store clerks, waiters, co-workers with whom you have no complex history. Gradually apply them to more challenging contexts, important meetings, difficult conversations, interactions with authority figures. Notice how small changes in your gaze pattern produce significant changes in the way others respond to you. Now, let's explore the high-status gestures that naturally communicate confidence and competence. Unlike the nervous, aimless movements that signal low status, dominant gestures are deliberate, economical, and impactful. They amplify your presence rather than diminish it, reinforce your message rather than distract from it. The first principle of high-status gestures is economy of movement. Men of true power do not gesticulate excessively. Every movement has purpose and meaning. They do not waste energy on unnecessary flourishes or compensatory movements. This quality of precision communicates a clear message. I have complete control over my body and my actions. Nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental. The second principle is appropriate amplitude. While small, restrained gestures signal shyness or insecurity, high-status gestures take up appropriate space. They are expansive without being over the top, visible without being theatrical. This quality of visual presence reinforces your overall physical presence, expanding the space you actually occupy. The third principle is deliberate timing. High-status gestures are not rushed or frantic. They are performed at a slightly slower pace than average, creating an impression of consideration and control. This temporal quality communicates that you are not anxious or reactive. You are operating on your own time, not being driven by the urgency of others. The fourth principle is congruence with content. High-status gestures reinforce and amplify your verbal message rather than contradicting or distracting from it. They are naturally integrated into your speech, creating an impression of inner alignment and authenticity. This congruence communicates integrity, the sense that all parts of you are working in harmony rather than in conflict. Practice these principles consciously until they become second nature. Observe respected leaders, not just what they say, but how their bodies speak. Notice the economy, amplitude, timing, and congruence of their gestures. Gradually incorporate these qualities into your own nonverbal repertoire, not as imitation, but as an authentic expression of growing inner confidence. How you occupy and manage physical space is another crucial component of the body language that commands respect. Territory and space are not just physical concepts. They are direct expressions of perceived value and hierarchical position. Who deserves more space? Who should give way? Who controls the environment? These questions are silently answered through territorial behaviors that everyone instinctively perceives. The first principle of dominant territorial behavior is the confident occupation of space. High-status men naturally occupy the space available to them, sitting fully in their chairs rather than on the edge, using the armrests rather than keeping their arms tucked in, spreading materials across the table rather than keeping them in a tight pile. This occupation is not about aggressive expansion into others' territory. It is about fully utilizing the space that rightfully belongs to you. The second principle is access control. Notice how men of true power manage access to their personal space. They don't shrink when others approach. They don't automatically back away to create more space. They don't allow constant interruptions of their physical or conversational territory. They establish and maintain clear boundaries, not with aggression, but with quiet assertiveness. The third principle is strategic mobility. High-status men move through space with purpose and authority. They do not ask for implicit permission to occupy different areas. They move confidently, recognizing appropriate boundaries, but without undue hesitation. This quality of movement communicates psychological ownership of the environment, not in the sense of exclusive possession, but of legitimate belonging. The fourth principle is the creation of psychological space. In addition to physical space, there is conversational and attentional space. Men who command respect create deliberate pauses in their speech, allowing their words to have weight and impact. They do not fill every silence with more words. They do not compete desperately for attention. This creation of psychological space communicates a powerful message. My words have value. They deserve consideration. I do not need to flood the room with volume to be heard. Practice these territorial principles in a variety of contexts. Notice how small changes in the way you occupy and manage space produce significant changes in the way others respond to your presence. Gradually, you'll notice that people naturally respect your boundaries more, interrupt you less, and show greater consideration for your physical and psychological space. Facial microexpressions are perhaps the most subtle and powerful elements of dominant body language. These extremely brief expressions, often lasting less than a fifth of a second, reveal genuine emotional states before they can be masked by socially acceptable expressions. Your social brain is constantly scanning others' faces for these involuntary giveaways, forming judgments about authenticity, trustworthiness, and real versus performed power. The first principle of authority microexpressions is emotional congruence. When your facial expressions are perfectly aligned with your words and intentions, you communicate integrity and authenticity. This congruence is instantly perceived by others, creating a sense of trustworthiness that is key to genuine respect. The second principle is expressive control. Men who command respect do not allow every passing emotion to show itself fully on their faces. This does not mean suppressing emotions or maintaining a rigid mask. It means consciously filtering which emotions deserve full expression and which must be modulated. This quality of control communicates emotional maturity and self-mastery. The third principle is calibrated expressiveness. Unlike inexpressiveness that can seem cold or excessive expressiveness that can seem unstable, expressiveness that commands respect is calibrated to the context. It is rich enough to communicate humanity and connection, but controlled enough to communicate stability and strength. This balance creates a presence that is both approachable and respectable. The fourth principle is subtle asymmetry. Studies show that slightly asymmetrical faces during emotional expressions are perceived as more authentic and trustworthy than perfectly symmetrical expressions, which often look rehearsed or artificial. This quality of imperfect authenticity communicates genuine humanity, not a polished performance, but a real presence. Practice awareness of your facial expressions. Observe in a mirror how different emotional states manifest on your face. Work to create greater congruence between what you feel, what you intend to communicate, and what your face reveals. Gradually, develop the ability to express emotions authentically but appropriately, without suppressing your humanity or allowing every emotional impulse to dominate your expression. If you recognize the transformative power of these body language principles, consider sharing this video with other men who could benefit from this knowledge. True influence comes not only from elevating yourself, but from elevating those around you. By creating a community of men who are aware of these principles, you amplify your impact and contribute to a broader collective transformation. Now, let's explore the final element of body language that commands respect: nonverbal vocal qualities. Although the voice technically conveys words, its nonverbal qualities, tone, volume, rhythm, resonance, communicate crucial information about status and authority that transcends verbal content. These vocal qualities are processed by different parts of the brain than semantic content, creating powerful impressions that operate largely below the level of conscious awareness. The first principle of a respectable voice is deep resonance. Voices with lower, deeper resonance are universally perceived as more authoritative and trustworthy. This resonance isn't just about natural tone, although men with naturally deeper voices have an advantage. It's about where the voice resonates in the body. When you speak from your lower chest rather than your throat or nose, your voice naturally takes on a richer, more impactful quality. The second principle is deliberate pacing. The voice that commands respect is neither hurried nor drawn out. It moves at a slightly slower and more measured pace than the average conversational one. This temporal quality communicates consideration and control. You are not eager to finish. You are not competing for conversational space. You are not seeking approval through rapid delivery. The third principle is dynamic modulation. Unlike monotony that signals disengagement or excessive variation that signals emotional instability, a voice that commands respect uses intentional variation to create interest and emphasis. This dynamic quality holds the listener's attention without appearing performative or manipulative. The fourth principle is definitive completion. Notice how low-status men often let their sentences trail off, as if apologizing for taking up sound space. In contrast, the voice that commands respect maintains consistent energy and volume through the end of each sentence, creating a sense of completeness and conviction. This conclusive quality communicates confidence in the value of what is being said. Practice these vocal qualities daily. Read texts aloud, experimenting with different resonances, rhythms, modulation patterns, and endings. Record yourself and listen critically, identifying patterns that diminish your vocal authority. Gradually incorporate more commanding qualities into your everyday speech, not as an artificial performance, but as a fuller expression of your growing inner confidence. Finally, let's address the crucial challenge of authentic integration. The body language that truly commands respect is not a collection of externally performed techniques. It is the natural expression of an internal state of confidence, clarity, and self-mastery. The goal is not to learn to look powerful, but to become the person whose inner power naturally manifests itself through these body signals. The first principle of authentic integration is deliberate practice. Like any skill, mastering body language requires consistent practice before it becomes second nature. Start with short sessions of mindful practice, 5 to 10 minutes several times a day, during which you focus intensely on a specific element: posture, gaze, gestures, territory, expressions, voice. Gradually, extend these periods and integrate multiple elements simultaneously. The second principle is contextual progression. Start by practicing in low-stakes contexts, alone, with people you feel comfortable with, in low-pressure situations. Gradually apply these principles to increasingly challenging contexts, important meetings, public presentations, interactions with authority figures. This progression allows you to develop competence and confidence without overwhelm. The third principle is honest feedback. Seek feedback from people you trust about how your body language is perceived. Better yet, record yourself in interactions with appropriate permission, and critically observe your own nonverbal presence. This objective feedback is crucial to identifying incongruities between how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you. The fourth principle is parallel inner development. While practicing these external elements, simultaneously work on your inner development, building genuine self-confidence, clarity of purpose, emotional stability, and a sense of self-worth. This inner evolution will naturally manifest itself in your body language, creating authentic congruence rather than empty performance. Remember, the ultimate goal is not to manipulate perceptions through superficial techniques, but to align your outward expression with your growing inner power. When your body language authentically reflects who you are becoming, a man of genuine confidence, clarity, and self-mastery, the respect you receive is not extracted or performed, but freely offered in recognition of your true worth. The truth is that your body language is not just an expression of who you are. It is a powerful tool for becoming who you want to be. Through the deliberate practice of these principles, you are not only changing how others perceive you, you are literally rewiring your own neurological circuitry, hormonal patterns, and psychological states. You are creating a virtuous cycle where external expression and internal reality reinforce each other, elevating you to new levels of personal presence and power. The choice is now yours. You can continue to allow your body language to unconsciously communicate messages that contradict your aspirations and potential. Or you can embark on the journey of mastering this silent language of power, not as a superficial performance, but as an authentic expression of your growing inner mastery. Choose wisely, because in the relentlessly honest world of nonverbal communication, you can't pretend to be someone you're not, but you can, through deliberate practice and genuine development, become someone whose mere presence naturally commands the respect you deserve.